So I was thinking about how we refer to us. And by us, I mean our philosophy. And probably the present day term that has been bandied about now in this century is new thought. And the irony of that is the philosophy is nothing new. But what does new thought actually mean? New thought is you the individual, personalizing ancient wisdom. And what is that ancient wisdom? The ancient wisdom is telling us that in spite of physical circumstances, that there is only one reality. You know me, I always call it reality with a capital R. And that reality is a God constant. That's my talk today, God constant, or how else can you say it? Infinite intelligence always existing, divine order being the nucleus of all world events. Easier said than done, correct? And what I notice, particularly in my field of profession, is that every single week now, something so magnanimous seems to happen that it colors and twists and takes a talk into an entirely different direction. And even though I had picked the title God Constant last month, how perfect and how relevant is it for us to be able to look at this and to apply it at the degree of our willingness? At the degree of our willingness. What that says is that if this God constant, if this divine order, if this ancient wisdom is forever imparting to us that there is this there's only one great reality, and that is the reality that the only thing that is real, that the only thing that exists is God, is intelligence, then what do we do with that? Particularly in our five sensory, three-dimensional human experience, which is bombarded by 24-hour news programming. What do we do with that? And so it isn't about making something go away. It's about a constant reconciliation within us as an individual with this ancient wisdom to present-day new thought, which is being exhibited by me. So I was looking at a lot of ancient wisdom this week, particularly fascinated by Hermeticism or Hermetic wisdom, which is really attributed to the Greek god Hermes. But it's really ancient wisdom which is centered around the idea of alchemy. You familiar with the word alchemy? The alchemist is one who takes something dense like lead and transforms it into gold. And so when you take the word alchemy and you apply it to the mental processes of an individual, you're taking a dense thought or a lead-based thought or a heavy thought or a thought of separation, and you are transmuting and transforming that thought into something that is golden. In other words, you're creating a new thought around a world of effect. And so I found this in studying some Hermeticism this week, and it gives this explanation. It says, a wise man falls in with the law. So what I described is what we call law. Law rules the world. It rules our lives. We are the micro in the macro, meaning that for every cause there is an effect. What is a cause? A cause, again, is a choice, a deliberate, initiated, selected choice. So for every initiated, selected choice of thought, there is a corresponding effect. Hermeticism says that wise men fall into the law. I love the imagery of that. A wise person falls into it. In other words, you and I surrender to the law. We're not fighting it. We're not looking for caveats and wiggle room and exceptions. We surrender ourselves to the understanding of cause and effect. And by surrendering, it means that we surrender into the responsibility of it. I surrender into knowing that new thought gets to individualize itself through me. So a wise man falls in with the law, and by understanding its movements, which are the vibrations of it, he operates it instead of being its blind slave. Just as does the skilled swimmer turn this way and that way, going and coming as he will, instead of being a log which is carried here and there by the current of the water. So you see the difference, right? A swimmer intentionally is doing what? Is directing its path amongst the waters of, let's say, affect, the waters of the world. The log, though, does what? It's just buoying about and being tossed by every single weather pattern and circumstance and obstruction and blockage. It has no direction. It's as if it has no free will of its own that it knows of. So I ask you this morning, are you a log or are you a swimmer? By being a log, we are unconscious then, and we are at the mercy of the bombardment of world effect. Being a log simply means that I'm tossed hither and to by trends, by news reports, by economic downsides and upheavals, by family drama, by medical diagnosis. I'm tossed hither and there, and I'm thinking in reality with a small r, that I have no other recourse. I am at the mercy of. Whereas a skilled swimmer is doing what? Navigating through the illusion, navigating through the blockage, navigating intentionally. And in that navigation, it knows, he knows, she knows exactly where it is that they're going. And in the process of knowing, and it's not knowing per se with regards to destination, but it's knowing that I'm swimming towards truth. What I love about swimmers, here's an analogy, like Diana Nyad, who's actually a really good friend of Karen Ratz. They're very good. In fact, Karen was on the boat with her, was one of the 6 people that was allowed to go on the boat. So Diana Nyad, the woman who swam successfully, what was it? 110 miles from where to where? From Pensacola to Mississippi. Anyway, she swam. Yeah. So, and how many times did she do it? Many, many, many times. But the intentionality of it, what I know about that is that as she's doing this, there's somebody in a corresponding boat who's calling out navigation, who's calling out direction, who's saying veer to the left, veer to the right, who's nourishing her and hydrating her in this process. The universe is like that. If you and I are navigating, instead of being this log which knows that, or which believes or is completely unconscious to the fact that there is a universe guiding, then even though it's wanting to guide, we're not receptive to it. But if I'm an intentional swimmer and I say, yes, I want to be a conscious being, I want to understand the God constancy, the irrevocable idea that divine order consciously, always infallible, is in existence beyond all worldly effect. I want to know that. I'm swimming towards that. Then everything that's going to nourish me, navigate me, pivot me, tell me, course correct me is going to be there in the moment that I need it. You see? And so we get to decide, am I going to be the log or am I going to be this vessel of mastery? And it brings up the phrase going with the flow. Any of you ever said, oh, I'm just going to go with the flow? I love polarity. And I realize that going with the flow is a very polarizing statement, just like all statements are, really. But this one means that if I go with the flow in conjunction with being just this piece of driftwood, then I have no direction. Correct? And I succumb to the illusion of what that 5-sensory, 3-dimensional world is telling me. But if I go with the flow of intentionality, it's very different. Going with the flow with intentionality means that I am participating in the conscious direction of good, but at the same time, unilaterally open to allowing the universe to show me the ways and the means to do that. Going with the flow simply means that I'm living from intention, but I've let go of the how. And so when we begin to look at this esoteric, this ancient wisdom, which is so relevant constantly in us, then we are reminded, as Hermeticism said, that while all, so you are the all, okay? So while all is in the all is also in the all. You like that, right? That was the bumper sticker back in 3000 BC. That was on the t-shirts of every person crossing the desert. So, while the all, that is you and I, while the all, we are in the all, the God constancy, meaning that we have access to every single thing. While we are in that, that which is the all is also where? In the all. If you want to know what constancy is, if you want to root yourself in some ancient wisdom, root yourself in that. It doesn't matter how crass, how angry, how upset, how unconscious, how self-deprecating, how self-loathing you become, how diminished your light comes. You cannot be separate from the all. Now, I say that to you. Are you willing to know that for everyone else? Are you willing to know that for everyone else? So we look at our world events this week. And we look at things like solidarity, yet another word that has polarity to it. Because you see, if I proclaim my solidarity to the people of France, and I think that's a good thing, that's a beautiful, wonderful, intentional thing, you, as a metaphysician, you, as a student of truth, must also be willing to give your solidarity to whom? Everyone. Who is ensconced in the all? The all. Wasn't a trick question. And there, my friend, lies the work. Because it's easy to have solidarity towards those who are the apparent victim. But to give solidarity, meaning a deeper knowing, a swimming towards intentionality of the constancy of God, even in the people who are the perpetrators of the grief. And the room becomes silent. And that's our work. And it's inconvenient. And it requires something of us. And it seems to go against the grain. It doesn't seem to go with the flow. It's actually asking for you and I to have Christ consciousness. Christ consciousness does not differentiate and have solidarity towards one subset of individuals and not the other. And so I'm not there yet. And in my not being there yet, there are several things that I get to do with that. One is I get to keep swimming towards the intentionality of the constancy of God, not just cerebrally, not just intellectually, but through application. And as I continue to do that, my solidarity expands. I've told you this before. The most beautiful example of that was when Oprah was interviewing the parents of who lost a child in the Sandy Hook's elementary shooting. And Oprah said, "How in the world will you ever be able to reconcile the hole in your heart that is your missing son?" And she said, "I won't. Nor do I want to." She goes, "By reconciling the hole in my heart, it's as if I want to fill it and replace my son. I don't want to do that. What I want to do is to expand my heart so large that it includes the hole that is my son." And to me, that is the brilliance of solidarity in its finest, because it's saying, I want to include all of the emotion, all of the effect, all of the experiences, and see it from the lens of that new thought ideal that says, even in the midst, in the absence of order or God, there was order and there was God. And that's the constancy of God. We deal on what is called 3 planes of correspondence. You could call it 3 planes of consciousness. I like the word correspondence because it's relational. So those 3 planes of of correspondence. One is the physical plane. The physical plane, if you're just solely ensconced in the physical plane, then you are at the mercy of all of the five senses. So you are not metaphysical, you are physical. You are Olivia Newton-John, let's get physical. And that's as far as it goes, right? And what's the problem with that? To be solely ensconced in the physical means kind of like our forebears who were only able to see the landscape and then they saw a dropping off point, so there's an assumption that there's nothing else beyond that. Metaphysical requires that I must look beyond the physical to realize that there's a greater reality. Of course, you and I now know that everything is energy. You can't see energy, but you can see the repercussion of and the effect of energy by the way in which we relate to one another. But in that correspondence of the physical plane, there is also the harmony or the unilateral or multidimensional component of the mental plane, which is what you and I are all engaged in, correct? Change your what? Thinking. Change your thinking and you change the physical plane. Change your mental correspondence. The mental correspondence then is the relationship that I have with the physical plane. What does that mean? I look at something in its concrete, finite, five-sensory, three-dimensional thing and I go, I wonder how that came to be. I wonder what's beyond that. I wonder what the energy is that brought that into the effect. I wonder what the cause is. If I can do that with myself, whoa, I become my own master healer. When I can look at every single effect and go, I wonder what my participation in this thing was on the mental plane. And then what I can do is I can begin to adjust, shift, course correct the mental plane and my correspondence to it. And then the third plane then is the spiritual plane or the all. And the more that I become masterful with my mental plane, the more the all comes in and then influences the physical plane. And in those three correspondences, you see, you can't have one without the other. And even if I'm solely locked into just the physical plane, the mental and the spiritual are still there with you. Still there with you. And so I start to realize more and more and more my evolvement in all of this. I loved what Martin Luther King said. He wrote, I refuse to accept the view that mankind is so tragically bound to the starless midnight of racism and war that the bright daybreak of peace and brotherhood can never become a reality. I believe that unarmed truth and unconditional love will have the final word. And I say, yes. So we look at the goings-on and that which takes place in Paris, and we see the outpouring of solidarity. You know, we've got this thing called social media, which allows you to change the filter of your profile picture and overlay the French flag onto your photo, and now other people are getting upset, and they're saying, where was your solidarity? Where was the filter when in Libya, just less than 2 weeks ago, this took place? Where was your solidarity when this was taking place in Nigeria? Where was your solidarity when this was happening in other parts of the world that is constantly going on? And the answer is, I don't know. Because the reality is that wherever you place your solidarity, someone else is going to be upset. And we start to see a world in the world of effect that is so wounded and so hurting and so desperate to be seen and to be heard, that even in your own corner of the world and whatever it is that you do, it will be marginalized and it will be mocked and it will be judged, and you must do it anyway. And so what then does peace have to do with any of this? If the constancy of God is related to everything, every virtue, every every expansive ideal that is attributable to God, then it means that peace is constant. And you've heard me say it before, my favorite quote is from A Course in Miracles. And it says, love brings up everything unlike itself. That is a statement of polarity. It simply means that if you and I proclaim to be an advocate or a vessel of love, then everything unlike love, which exists on the physical plane, will come and it will reveal itself to you, present itself to you in all its technicolor, to give you and I the opportunity to substantiate and make in integrity our affirmation. Affirmation comes with polarity. So it isn't just about love. Every single time then that you and I pray and affirm greater prosperity, everything unlike prosperity rises up. That's polarity. In order for you and I to go, what? This crap doesn't work. Or to go, wow, what an opportunity for me to exercise ancient wisdom into me having a new thought about my situation. Every single time we affirm wholeness, physical wholeness within us, everything unlike wholeness presents itself. And you're thinking, my God, kill me now. Or let me just not think at all. Let me be the log tossing in the water and not having an opinion. But you can't do that because that's not our nature. Our nature, the natural part of us is expansion. If I affirm and I pray for that constancy of love in my life, the intimacy that I know exists, that I pray for and I know and I want, everything unlike that will show up. To say, you sure about that? You deserve love? Oh, please. And it will be, ensconced in all these people and reviews and comments and opinions. When you say, I choose to be an expansive global presence for truth, everything that impedes that will show up and say, you? Oh, you shouldn't do that. So polarity in its finest is constantly there. That's not to frighten us. That's not to stop us. That's for us to understand our work in the world. So what do you think then the events that took place this week are about? It is polarity. What do you do in the face of polarity? Our founding New Thought fathers used to say, principle is principle, and it cannot be sacrificed for a special occasion. Ooh, how's that one for a bumper sticker? Principle is principle. It's constant. It cannot be sacrificed for a special occasion. The law cannot go, oh, you're right. That's really messy. Sorry about that. You get exemption on that. You had nothing to do with that effect at all whatsoever. Here, let me fix that for you. No. In order to do that, the whole interruption of free will would then take place. And you and I would not be evolutionary beings. We would be robots. So from the soul perspective, we are here to experience this alchemy, this mental alchemy, realizing that on those three planes of correspondence, that the one that is really the juicy thing there that integrates the physical and the spiritual is the mental. How else do we talk about it? How else do we come to terms and to realize that the peace that we wish to exist in the world must first be derived within ourselves? So I, had to look at that. If I'm to be an advocate of peace and I can't even get along with the people in my immediate circle, there's something drastically wrong here. If I am an advocate for love and I just loathe the person down the hall, there's something wrong here. If I'm an advocate for forgiveness and I cannot learn how to make amends, even with myself, then there's something wrong. And you see, that's not new. That is ancient wisdom, my friend. That is the constancy of truth. Truth with a capital R. Here's what I love. If you're really serious, just tell the universe, I'm serious about this. I want to grow. Remember how we used to say, ooh, don't pray for patience. Don't do that. It's the same thing. That's polarity, right? Because everything that's going to help you be patient is going to show up. So we're like, not praying for patience, not praying for patience, not praying for patience. Then you leave today, not praying for peace, not praying for peace, not praying for peace, not praying for love. What am I praying for? A hamburger. I'm praying for a hamburger. Okay, I can handle that. Because I'm a vegetarian, so that's really not going to, that's easy. I can do that. It's like everything. This is a big laboratory, people. You get that, right? This is the opportunity for us to grow. Hi, I'm David Ault, and I simply want to say thanks. Thanks for taking the time to watch our broadcast here at Spiritual Living Center of Atlanta. We have a vision, and that vision is to reawaken all to their spiritual magnificence. And one of the ways that we are able to do that is through this very medium of broadcasting. So if you got anything out of this, if you felt in any way inspired, or if something spoke to you directly, then I extend an invitation to you to become a part of our family by donating. And there are many ways in order for you to be able to do that. One is to simply go to our website at slca.com, and there you will find all different kinds of prompts that will help you support what it is that we are doing here in Atlanta. One way is to become a pledger. That means that you decide on a monthly basis that you are going to help us with this vision. Another way is to donate through our management system called Fellowship One, another through PayPal, and another even easier way is on your cell phone. You can do what's called text to tithe, and that number is 404-796-7030. Again, thank you so much for your support, and I invite you to come back weekly to see what it is that we're up to. Blessings.